Tickets for the grand opening of the Kai Tak Sports Park to go on sale tomorrow. Lawmakers approve a plan to lower the fees at the Tai Lam Tunnel once the facility comes under government control. And the whole of Israel mourns as Hamas hands over the bodies of 4 dead captives. Good evening. You're watching Cable News. I'm Jeremy Chu. Watchers of the Kai Tak Sports Park should stay alert as some 8,000 tickets will be up for grab tomorrow morning for the park's long-anticipated opening ceremony set to be held next Saturday. There would not be live broadcast of the ceremony. Rather, it would only be shown on free television channels at a later time after edits to ensure that the venue would be shown in the best possible way, the government said. Cheryl Yuan reports.
緊接之後呢，會有嚟自內地同埋本地跨年齡、跨世代。
Speaking to the press, Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Rosanna Law revealed that the ceremony will feature performances by national and Hong Kong athletes, as well as singers, bands, and dance groups from the SAR and the mainland. 8,500 tickets, priced at a symbolic $10 each, will go on public sale at 10 a.m. tomorrow on Earptix, with a limit of 2 per person. Collectors will need to pick up their tickets at the venue. Additionally, 8,300 tickets will be distributed to low-income families, members of the Executive and Legislative Councils, advisory bodies, and district councillors. The remaining 16,800 tickets will be allocated by the Kai Tak Sports Park Company to sponsors and project partners. Law also announced that the ceremony will not be broadcasted live. Instead, a pre-recorded program combining stage performances, pre-produced videos, and various scenes will air at 9:30 p.m. on free-to-air television channels to showcase the venue in the best possible way. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
The Legislative Council has given the green light for the new toll plan for Tai Lam Tunnel, which adjusts toll prices based on peak and off-peak hours. Commuters will start seeing the new fees from May 31st when the government takes over the tunnel operations. Cheryl Yun again has the story.
我宣布議案獲得通過。
With 82 votes in support, the bill on the time-varying toll plan for Tai Lam Tunnel has been approved by the Legislative Council. Only one lawmaker abstained, Roundtable legislator Michael Tian.
而犧牲咗元朗屯門嘅居民呢，所以我係唔能夠支持。
The proposed tolls overlook the interest of residents in Yuen Long and Tuen Mun, so I cannot support the bill, he said. Tian, who proposed amendments to the toll structure, suggested that private cars, motorcycles, and commercial vehicles should be allowed to use the tunnel free of charge during non-peak hours. However, his proposal was rejected, with only 2 lawmakers backing it.
點解咁塞嘅？點解會咁塞？
DAB lawmaker Ben Chen warned that Tian's proposal of offering free usage could lead to significant congestion over time.
咁可惜咧，政府面對住千億財赤啦嚇。
Michael Look from the Federation of Trade Unions highlighted the government's $100 billion budget deficit, making it difficult to lower tolls. Undersecretary for Transport and Logistics Liu Chen-san rejected Tian's amendment, stating that the government's goal is to optimize traffic flow and avoid operational deficits. According to the new toll plan, private cars will be charged $45 during peak hours, $30 during regular hours, and $18 during off-peak hours. Taxis will have a fixed toll of $28, while commercial vehicles such as buses and trucks will pay $43. Liu said the government would re-examine the tolls in 1 year. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
The Office of the Ombudsman has launched an investigation into the city's public housing providers regarding their procedures for reclaiming and reallocating units. Over the past 5 years, the Housing Authority has reclaimed an average of 15,700 units annually, while the Housing Society has taken back around 1,100 units each year. The government regulator found that, on average, the housing authority takes 2.5 months to reallocate recovered units to new tenants, while the housing society takes around 3 months, highlighting the need to expedite the reallocation process. 19 recommendations for improvement were proposed, including urging the housing society to shorten its time frame for reclaiming units and completing relevant refurbishment work. Additionally, they recommend issuing allowances to new tenants for renovating vacant units, enabling them to move in earlier. Both public housing providers have accepted all the recommendations and have begun to follow up and implement some of them. The Department of Health is investigating and following up on an incident in which pneumococcal vaccine was mistakenly administered to 2 infants who were originally scheduled to receive hepatitis B vaccine at the Ting Shui Wai Maternal and Child Health Center. Quintin Yang reports.
The incident was uncovered on Monday when the hospital reviewed the vaccine records after the end of a service session between 4 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. 7 children aged between 1 month and 7 months old should have received the hepatitis B vaccine during the session. Upon review of the number of vaccines administered, it was found that there were 2 doses of hepatitis B vaccine left unused, and 2 extra doses of 15-valent pneumococcal conjugate vaccine were used. After double-checking with the vaccine stock, it was found that 2 children had been incorrectly immunized with PCV15 during that period. It is not known yet which 2 children had been given the wrong jabs. The Department of Health sent a sincere apology to those affected and believed that the incident would not pose a health risk to the children concerned. The nursing staff involved in the incident have been suspended from vaccination duties.
Following an agreement reached yesterday between the government and taxi industry leaders to regulate illegal ride-hailing platforms, the industry has also called for fair competition, emphasizing equal operational costs and regulatory standards for all players. Quintin Yang tells us more.
Yesterday's meetings, triggered by threats of a citywide taxi strike, highlighted an alignment between the government and the taxi industry. Both sides emphasized the need to uphold compliance and public interests, while modernizing the city's point-to-point transport sector. While the discussions mainly centered on eliminating illegal operations, taxi groups also pushed for stricter regulations to level the playing field, insisting ride-hailing platforms share similar operational costs and compliance standards. Taking to the airwaves this morning, Chow Kok-heun, chairman of the Hong Kong Taxi and Public Light Bus Association, emphasized the need for ride-hailing companies to register locally, obtain licenses, and submit passenger data for government oversight. He also advocated for locally registered insurance and annual vehicle inspections, similar to taxi regulations, and proposed stricter penalties for platforms enabling unlicensed white-plate vehicles. The government echoed these concerns. Speaking on the same radio program, Transport Commissioner Angela Lee confirmed that a regulatory framework would be finalized by the end of the year. While acknowledging the role of ride-hailing platforms in meeting diverse transport needs, she emphasized the importance of compliance, stating that platforms seeking licenses must demonstrate robust fleet and driver management. Quintin Yang, Cable News.
In the first handover of dead captives to Israel, Palestinian group Hamas has released the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages, marking a hugely emotional and somber moment in the 15-month-long conflict. The handover in the southern Gaza city of Khan Yunis was part of a fragile 6-week ceasefire deal, which has seen the exchange of Palestinian prisoners for Israeli hostages. The mortal remains of 84-year-old Oded Lifshitz, 32-year-old Shiri Bibas, and her 2 boys, Ariel, who was 4, and 9-month-old Kafir, the youngest hostage taken by Hamas, were handed over to the representatives of the Red Cross. Their father, Yarden Bibas, was released by Hamas earlier this month after 484 days in captivity. Hamas claimed that the mother and her 2 children were killed in an Israeli strike soon after they were taken hostage on October 7, 2023. Israel says it will not confirm their deaths before forensic testing.
Yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had asked the whole country to be ready for the shocking truth, saying the heart of an entire nation is torn.
U.S. President Donald Trump said Russia holds all the cards in any peace talks with Ukraine, calling Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator for not holding elections. Trump blamed Kyiv for starting the war with Russia. Sachin Khatvi reports.
Angered after Zelensky said the U.S. president was living in a disinformation space governed by Moscow, Trump responded saying Zelensky was only good at playing former U.S. President Joe Biden as a fiddle.
Modestly successful comedian, President Zelensky talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that basically couldn't be won. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. And you can't bring a war to an end if you don't talk to both sides. You got to talk. They haven't been talking for 3 years.
Zelensky's 5-year term of office ended in May last year, but Ukraine has been under martial law since Russia launched a full-scale invasion in February 2022. The 3-year-old conflict has caused deeper divisions between America and its European allies after US and Russia held talks in Saudi Arabia earlier this week without inviting Ukraine. Supporting Zelensky, European leaders agree that peace cannot be achieved without Ukraine's consent. Sachin Khatvi, Cable News.
Inflation in the city climbed 2% last month, surpassing market forecasts.
The Consumer Price Index rose by 2% year-on-year in January, higher than the 1.4% increase in the previous month. The surge was primarily driven by the conclusion of the extra public housing rent waiver in December last year, alongside the hike in transport fares and basic food prices during the Chinese New Year period. A government spokesman commented that the underlying consumer price inflation remained modest, characterized by slight upticks in food prices and moderate increases in energy-related items. Looking ahead, with the ongoing expansion of the local economy, domestic costs may see some incremental pressures, while external price pressures are expected to remain contained.
Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index was down 367 points. Top active stocks of the day. Alibaba was down $3.20. Tencent was down $11. Kuaishou was down $4.50, while BYD was up $6.80. Onto the weather now. Mainly cloudy, sunny periods during the day tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 17 and 21 degrees. Moderate to fresh east to northeasterly winds. Occasionally strong offshore. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our news tonight. I'm Jeremy Zhu. Thank you for watching and good night.